Okay. And, and I can't wait to hear how she's building her business and how she's doing GX. Okay. So let's go ahead and give it up for our first trainer, all the way from Canada, Miss Melanie Leger.
Woo! Merci, Jamil. Hey, I'm impressed with the way you even said my name. So thank you so much. And I'm really excited to share this evening with WSB how the workshop truly did change my life and change my finances. Because like you said, when I started this campaign as a 23-year-old, I knew how to make money and I knew how to spend money. And I think I'm a normal person, which is why a lot of people join our campaign because they have some kind of financial stuff going on and they need the hope. And I believe that WSB gave me that, and I like to share back. So this evening, I'm going to quickly share with everybody what I crazily did to get myself debt free back in 2020 and what I've done since. So I'm just going to start with sharing my screen. So I think we're good. Everybody good? Can you see my
Yes.
screen well?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. So if I, first of all, the first thing that personally I do every year, but especially this year, so I'm going to go back, fast forward to 2019, when I met Monsieur Léger, my man. So, you know, when you start a little relationship and you're like in that nice little honeymoon phase, I had been in finances here in WSB for years, and I asked him, "Hey, Renee, have you ever printed 12 months of your like checking account, credit card to see where you spent your money in the last year?" He says, "No." I say, "Oh, it's really fun. We should do it." You know what you say to somebody you're starting to date? You say, "Yes, dear." So guess what he said? Yes to me. So it took the whole day where it was a Sunday. It's stormy in New Brunswick, East Coast Canada. But it took literally the whole day because he had his computer with his finances. I had mine with my finances. And after looking at 12 months of what we spent individually, it's enough to want to make you fall off your chair. So personally, I used to hate to cook. So when you don't cook, where do you eat? Fast food, restaurants. So if I showed you 12 months of 2019 restaurant, it was disgusting. And Mr. Rani loves coffee. And it's not just stopping in for a coffee. It becomes a coffee, a muffin, a bagel, the juice. So it adds up in a 12-month span. So after that one exercise, the next day, my new man walked into a Canadian Tire to buy a coffee press, a can of coffee, bagels at Sobeys, and cream cheese. And for the entire year ahead in 2020, every morning he'd leave the house with his coffee in hand and his bagel he made himself. Just with that one thing alone, he changed. He paid off his BMW a year and a half prior to. And for me, I'm going to tell you some of the craziness I did. So, number one, if you've never looked at your spending, so I would tell you do more than 1 month, at least 90 days, because 1 month we can pretend it's not that bad. But when you look at least a 90-day span, you get some real reality check. Number two, like Jamil said, the tracker, the WSB tracker, that whole year, Renee and I put that page on our fridge, and every day we'd have to come home and write what we spent that day. So whether it would be Amazon or it would be Dollarama or Sobeys or Tim Hortons, wherever we go, let's call it for my US friends, Dunkin' Donuts, we had to go on a tracker. Month number one, I had 4 pages long of spending while he had one. If there's anybody competitive here on WSB, how would you feel if you have 4 pages and he has one? I thought, no way is this happening next month. So it made me start being conscious about where do I spend my money? Do I want to spend that right now? Because when I get home, I'm going to have to go put it on my tracker. So it just makes you become aware. And I've done it multiple years now. And this year I'm back at it. So that's why on the other one, on the left side, you're going to see a new page. So it's my 2026 because I'm redoing the full year of exercise. because it's easy for even us in WSB to get off track sometimes. And I want to make sure as I earn more money, I don't waste more money. So this year I'm back at it. Groceries. In my life, I've never looked at prices. I've always been the girl that wants something. If I want Cinnamon Toast Crunch or Meeting Wheats, I put it in my cart. Never looked at the price. But in 2020, I was paying attention to prices. Instead of just grabbing and go, I like a little can of Diet Pepsi. I would literally just stop at a corner store, pay $3 for a can. When I started really paying attention, I could buy it for 47 cents. So why not? Why would I prefer not paying the overprice? And the same thing with purchasing when you're actually being conscious of your purchases. So I started thinking, do we do that because it's convenient? Or if we plan for it, how much money can we save? Look at when I used to be in school, high school, university, young adult, I used to have all the brand names in the world. And then I grew up in WSB. Now I wear a $16 black skirt, black high heels, $30 at H&M, and I wear WSB clothes every day. So my wardrobe has been the same for years. So even though I earn more money, I'm not spending more on shoes. I don't spend more on skirts. Why? You know how many times in here I went in someone's house to do an appointment and their dog ate my high heel? If I paid a lot of money, do you think I would be upset? Yes, a little bit. But considering I pay $30 for my shoes, I'm gonna laugh at the dog. And if I look at the fact that I recycle my clothes, meaning I still wear things that still fit for many years to come. So when there are actually holes in my clothes is when I get rid of them. Other than that, it's really more about necessity. Restaurants. Back in 2020, I told Renee, okay, it's Valentine's. Where would we go for Valentine's? We'd go to a keg steakhouse. What would we eat? So I would turn around, go purchase all the items because he's a great chef. And then I go on the website after to look, hey, what would it cost me if we went to the resto versus having it made at home? When you start seeing, wow, it would have cost me $130 with taxes plus tip versus Chef Légère at home in the comfort of my house with my PJs, $18.75 for the same meal with more comfort. So once you do that a few times to really pay attention, what do you eat in a restaurant? A burger, a pizza, a pasta, a steak. When you start making it, you understand you can save a lot more money. All the subscriptions we all have. It's very easy to get in a subscription. You say free for 30 days, and then what happens 30 days later? We all forget about it. Even this year, January 2026, as I'm tracking again, I see a $163 charge come out of my credit card. I had no idea. I never used Fireflies, so I don't even know what that was. And I couldn't even find it in my stuff. But I sent an email to Firefly saying, I don't even know how I got this account. Can you please refund me and cancel my subscription? And they actually did. So go check your credit card stuff to see what you're paying for. Reflecting what really brings you peace and bring you joy. So example, we have a desire, we love being on the water. So, okay, we can go turn around, buy a boat, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, or we bought kayaks, paid cash, and it gave us the same many years of memories in the last since 2021 that we bought these little kayaks. Now, it's not a speedboat, but the purpose is just being in nature on the water. We love eating barbecue. I would like to have a big green egg, but that's around $1,800 Canada. So we bought an $89 charcoal, and the results, many years of yumminess. And we had a desire to have a little summer cottage near my parents. So we bought a 2004 RV. We paid cash versus buying a brand new RV that we would have paid anywhere from $40,000 to $100,000, really. And it gave us the same purpose where we're relaxing night near my family. Cars. We all purchased vehicles. In 2010, I bought my first Acura on my 25th birthday, and 5 years later, paid it off. Majority of people pay off a car. What's the first thing they're already thinking? Before it's even paid, what are they thinking? What am I buying next? Right? They're already bored of the car. I loved my car and I drove it 6 year paid off. And during this 6 years paid off, you know what I did with the extra money that I would have paid my car payment? I went with WSB to Japan, Italy, Vietnam, Israel, Spain, and Portugal. So I did all the super trips because I could afford to, because I didn't have a big car payment. And then the pandemic hit in 21, and my accountant told me, go spend some money, so you need to go have more expenses, which is where I went and purchased another vehicle. And it's about to be done here in 2026. So that's exciting. And my old car, the one I bought in 2010, my parents currently still drive. So right now I gave it to my parents when I bought my second one. So because all they do is little errands around town, but it still drives very good and they're happy with that. In 2019 to 2020, in the workshop, it talks about how we can spend less and earn more. So in 2020, I earned more and I spent less. So with that extra earning, do you think I spent bad or I did good? Because I was trying to be disciplined, trying to be debt free. In 2020, I paid off $65,000 of debt in 1 year with tracking, watching my groceries, paying attention to subscriptions, calling 1-800 numbers, literally applying the financial workshop here in WSB. And I'm not sure about how you would feel if you accomplished being debt free for yourself. But for me, that was a student loan from my civil engineering. That was an old RV with an ex-boyfriend. That was credit cards from shopping throughout the years. That was my old car. That was like my past. So I wanted to get rid of my past to go on with my future with Renee. So that year we really were serious. And coach always says, if you don't know how to live, you don't know how to build. And my first paychecks in 2021, when they came in and I had nothing to pay because I had everything paid off. For me, what I really wanted is I wanted to go for a laser surgery because I was very blind and I had 20 years of contacts and I was starting to get eye infections on our travel to Vietnam and to Hawaii. And it's not fun traveling when you're with some pain in your eyes. So that was my first purchase that I did, being debt free to reward myself. And I paid cash, so I could not feel bad about it. So if I finish on this evening, what did I learn? I learned that even though I sacrifice, I didn't really sacrifice. I learned convenience is very costly. I learned to break bad habits and replace them with good habits. I learned tracking was the best way to win financially. I learned it can actually be fun to meal prep, grocery shop, and cook. I learned the importance of investing time monthly to look at it. It's went well and what didn't, because we always, again, learn when we're watching. I learned it's fun to do it with someone else. And it brings out the competitive spirit. I learned that no one raises our shirts to see our brands, nor lift our shoes up to see if you got some Lululemon going on. I learned it needs to be painfully in plain sight on the fridge to change. Because if we got that hiding around, technically, we're not really feeling the pain of our spending. And I learned it's fun to have control of your money versus money controlling you. So I'm a proud world system builder. I'm a result of the workshops. And I constantly still apply these things that I've been doing for multiple years. And I declare that this year I plan on being one of the big kahunas in WSP. So thank you so much, Jamil. And let's pass it on to the next wonderful trainer.
Awesome, awesome. Can we give a hand for Miss Melanie Legere? Discipline is so powerful, right? So how many of you are ready to put it on the fridge, right? Put it in plain sight so you can't run away from it, right? So thank you so much, Melanie, for that incredible testimony, right? So next, I want to go ahead and bring up our second trainer. This lady, needs no introduction. She is a powerful fire horse in WSB, right? And she's hailing her and her husband out of the Oak Brook Financial Center, right? So it's the sea of green and black jackets, right? So let's give it up for Miss Mia Rosal from Oak Brook Financial Center.
Hello, everybody. Hello from Oak Brook Financial Center. Wow, thank you for sharing, Melanie. We always get inspired from all your posts about you actually making a practical application of our workshops. So, coming from launch, I know many of us here, have a clear vision of what we want to accomplish. So first, of course, that's why I love your first topic is because, we get to actually, have a chance, to show our teammates that we do apply what we learn, that we do apply. It's not just out of concept, but the goal is for us to be the first to be financially educated, but let me share with you, again, some practical applications, from what we learned from all the launch. So how many of you here, Oak Brook, attended launch? Raise your hands proud, right? So some of us, even went to multiple times. I know Victor went to all locations, right? I know Carl and I went separate locations, and I went to Fort Worth. Carl went to Pomona, and then we both went to Toronto. But so many great things that make you see, make you realize that really, at least for me, we got to elevate our standard, right? How many of you feel that you're still underperforming, right? That we are underperforming. I felt that after launch, and that, but coming back, I know that everything that we learned there, we need to make sure that we need to make some changes so that we can raise our standard personally and with our team. So I wanted to share with you, okay, what we can learn immediately and what we can do and apply right away, after all these things that we learned from our head coach, right? And I titled this, my portion of tonight, as this topic, building from nobody to somebody. And that is who? Ourselves first, right? Before we can build others, we got to build ourselves, right? So how many of you come here from, again, no background, or you don't even know how to run a business? That was me. Okay, back 18 years ago, I was a school teacher. I was an employee. I didn't really know how to run a business, but I got recruited by somebody who gave me that opportunity, and I'm very grateful. I'm thankful for that opportunity. So now, coming from going to launch and coming back from that event, we know that this opportunity can build us, from somebody who has no background, no clue about personal finance, no clue about being a leader or being a builder, to somebody that can become somebody. Do you believe that you can be that one? Right? You can believe that I can be somebody, not just for my family. Of course, we all want to be that somebody for our family, where we can provide not just the needs, but at the same time have a better lifestyle, have more time and flexibility. But beyond that, we can become a somebody to our team, and become a somebody to our community and to WSB. And so this, we saw multiple times. How many of you have seen these? For those of you who are new, so you see these terms: rising kahuna, kahuna, big kahuna, GX, right? So really, what this means is that these are the logos that make us remember every single day that we have an opportunity to build it big here in WSB, in World System Builder. Because this business, this our campaign, our financial education campaign, is designed not for us to make a few sales. Our business is designed for us to help multiple families, millions of families. That's why we have a big goal, right? Of educating families. We didn't get recruited here to get licensed just to make a few sales a month. No, that's what this means. And that's why we got to understand this, and we got to have a clear articulation with our team so that they don't get lost. Okay, I know for us leadership, we know what this means, right? But how can we translate this to a new person, right? Or to even somebody, a young MD, okay, who's new in the business. So first is we got to understand that, with our program, with our simple program of GX, what that means is that we got to learn how to build ourselves first. Okay, and we start by, doing the GX. Okay, and when this started back in 2023, that really was, a year of us doing it, consistently every month. In the beginning, some people are like, oh, you know what, I'm good with points, I have a lot of points, but I'm short with recruits, right? And some people who were good with recruiting, they have a lot of recruits but couldn't get the point. But then over time, because of, we're always fighting for it, because it's in our mind now that every month we reset. And no matter what we did in the previous months, we have a new chance, to hit GX. Okay, so when we have that consistency, and when we have the habits, of going out in the field of prospecting and doing bubble chart, eventually, right, we see many of us, not only hit GX one time, but now, hit GX 10, GX 12, so because it becomes a habit. Okay, so now, once we learn that personal habit, so now we have a chance, right? We gotta make sure that we remember not just to keep on doing it personally, but to learn how to build others. And that's what this rising kahuna really means. And so again, I wanted to make sure everybody is clear, right? Rising kahuna, what does it mean? Rising kahuna, right, is us, doing the personal habit, but at the same time, right, looking at how many people in our teams hit GX, right? And the qualification for this, really, this jacket is a representation of, the result of what we do. So let's track, right, from January to June. Okay, so not only do we hit GX, but the challenge is how many GX are we building in our team? Okay, so I actually, had somebody in my team that I asked, Kathy, can you send me your bubble chart? I know your declaration, and I know you declared to become kahuna, right? But of course, before you get to kahuna, I want you to, make sure that you have the habits, right? You have the mentality. And first, she sent me her nice bubble chart. And I said, Kathy, I know this is not the real bubble chart, right? How many of you have that? The simple mind, right? So I have that too. But then when we came to GX retreat, we learned that we got to have our notebook where we can, draw and add, and, make some notes. And so this is what she said. And I said, good, this is better, and, because this has to be our working bubble. And when we do that, right, and you keep doing it every day, so now, right, now you can see yourself being a rising kahuna, right? How many of you envision yourself to wear this, right? So that's why, at my team, I tell them, hey, can you envision yourself, to do this? But you got to understand that what that means is that you got to identify, right, who among these bubbles, right, will you help to become a GX? Some of them hit GX1, some of them hit GX2, some GX3, right, some GX4, right? Or you can hit, double GX every single month. But, the main message is that, if you notice the standard, right, we're not just focused on us qualifying GX personally, but now we're also thinking of, building GXs in our team. And, that's why, this kahuna jacket is a representation of our work, right? Not just every month, but for a cumulative months, which is a rolling 5 months. And as a byproduct, we know that we don't run for the cash flow, but as a byproduct, I know that anybody that runs for Rising Kahuna, right, will have 100,000 to 250,000 cash flow, or even more, right? So who wants this? Is that clear? Yeah. Right? So, we know that the goal every month is to build ourselves, but to build others too. Okay, so, I encourage you, do this, like have a picture of you, for your goal, and work on it, work on the bubbles, right? And, have that vision, to elevate, your standard of activity, standard of results, so that we can hit that jacket. But of course, it doesn't end there, right? So we know this. How many of you want to build a big base shop? Oh, come on. There's going to be the front people here, yes, right? Okay, so yeah, and so now we see more hands now. We want to build a base shop. Okay, and what that means is really, your team, right? Your business partners, your agency. Okay, our base shop is a team that we work with together, right? That we help get results. So, with this kahuna jacket, what that means is that we have to, of course, lead from the front, qualify GX3 at a minimum. And, when we look at this, and this is rolling 12 months. Okay, so we look back, rolling 12 months, do we have 50 GX total? Okay, but the easier way too is that look at your points online, right? Because, in order for us to earn this jacket, you got to look at the fine prints. Okay, what does it say? Points must show online. Okay, and if we do 50 GX, again, this is a result, right? If we have the GX, if we submit, of course, we know we follow up, and our teams duplicate that. So now, it reflects on the system. And as a byproduct, those who do this consistently month to month, will have at least, cash flow of 375,000 and up. So we actually see, some people, have multiple higher cash flow than this. But, as a qualification, right? So to earn this jacket, we got to make sure that we remember this. Okay. So now how about the big kahuna jacket? Who really wants to hit this here in Oak Brook? Okay, so we have some hands showing up, but so see, when you're excited, for this, that means that you decide that you're gonna commit. Okay, it's not just excitement because excitement, lasts only for a short time. But when we do it consistently with our teams, not just personally, but on a daily basis, thinking, who do I build to become a GX? Who is the leg that I'm going to build to help hit GX? Or, who are the people that I'm going to meet today, prospects, so that I can recruit and become my GX? Maybe not become a GX, this month, because you're recruiting this person new, but have a plan, right? Have a vision that, my intention is for you to become GX right away. And for this, we can do, either 10 GX a month, or we do 2 rising kahunas, right? Or actually that's 4, sorry, that should be 4 rising kahunas, right? And 2 kahunas in the team. Okay, so remember, this is a rolling 12 months, So, that's why, when we have, a big goal like this, very important that we have to break it down. We break it down monthly, but more importantly, we break down our activities and results on a daily basis. Okay, because on a daily basis is when we do the work. Right? It's so easy for many people to say, you know what, I want to hit big kahuna. But the question is, do we have the daily activities, the daily habits that Coach was talking about? And so, after launch, this really has to be our focus. Okay, and these 2 logos to me represents, us going out in the field and sharing the campaign, us going out in the field, getting to work, rolling up our sleeves, and making sure that we share the education, we share the business, we share the campaign, we share the workshops, we share the solutions, right? Remember, we had a lot of great testimonials of people, the success of GX, because they joined, they became a beneficiary of all these financial education workshops, the PFSs, the financial foundations, right? So now we gotta share that, So this is our focus right now. Okay, so our focus every day is this. Okay, so the first arrow goes, what is our daily schedule in terms of prospecting, right? Are we not only looking at our personal share list, but also looking at our team's share list? How about asking referrals, right? Many of us, have family and friends. Some people join us, some people don't. But after launch, can we, I was talking to a teammate. I said, how many of us tried to recruit some of your family and friends, right? And maybe they join, but then they're not active anymore. But can you go back, and share the spirit of launch, the energy we got from launch, and recruit them again in the business? Or if not recruit them in the business, get referrals. Hey, I'm so fired up. We came from such a powerful event in launch in Toronto, in Pomona. Oh my goodness, I gotta share this with somebody. Do you know somebody who is, looking for a business opportunity? Are you looking for somebody who wants to learn about, how to build a strong financial foundation? So then we do a lot of invites again, so even here in Oak Brook, we're looking at ways so that we can increase our workshop attendance, right? How can we have more guests attend our workshops, or bring the workshops out in the field? We have teammates who are doing it in libraries, right? Churches. So we got to do a lot of that. So multiple phone calls. And as we learn, right? We invite, we prospect multiple ways. Okay, but the next is follow up, right? So I always say many of our teammates are very good at prospecting. How many of you prospected somebody like your Uber driver or somebody that you met at the airport just traveling to launch? See, a lot of hands. Right? A lot of people, they said, oh my goodness, Ate Mia, I prospected this Uber driver. I gave him the car. I got his number. But how about the follow-up? See, many of us, right? This is one area that we need to improve on. Okay, follow up, because we got to make sure that we follow up not only multiple ways, but multiple times. Okay, but this is one thing that Carl and I decided to do more of after launch. That we're not just going to make phone calls, we're not just going to do more meet people through Zoom. We're going to do a lot of drop by, stop by, right? So who do we drop by, stop by, right? Drop by, stop by the new prospect. Okay, you can spend like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, okay, or 1 hour. Okay, so again, the more we see them, instead of doing a very impersonal Zoom, it's better to drop by, and build a relationship, explain about the GX again, and work on the share list so that we can create an activity. Or drop by a team member's home, or drop by clients. Okay, I actually did this, before going to launch. I dropped by a client's home and, did a personal review. And because of that, I got some names, of referrals that, I'm going to meet so that I can share about, our campaign. How about drop by, stop by businesses, organizations, so that, we can do workshops, right? We can share our financial education campaign. And then, of course, from follow-ups, that's when we get to do the presentations. Okay, home BPM. So we got to do a lot of this again. So, actually, immediately, so some of us who are going to Hawaii, for us, while in Hawaii, we actually have home BPM scheduled. Because I said, I cannot not wait, to be back, to have a presentation. And thankfully, we have a base shop now, that, actually have family members in Hawaii. Right? So I said, let's do a home BPM. I will allot this time on this day. I want to make sure that we have results, because this is your family. We got to let them know what you do. Right? And she's excited. She's flying from Washington to Hawaii, and we're going to do home BPMs. Right? And then after that, we go to Washington again, doing multiple home BPMs. So just a lot of home BPMs with a base shop. How about multiple workshops, multiple events? So we got to have a lot of this so that we can get all those recruits, and we can get all those contacts that we can, get, so that we can share with them, our diversified solution. So, really, the byproduct of all this, is results. And we have a saying where the more results we get, the more results we actually get, right? It's not the more activities we do, the more results you get. Why? Because I have some teammates who, they say they have a lot of activities. They say, I'm cooking, yes, you see my numbers and all that. But, once you have the result, see it, just find your result. Like, who among you have results already this month? Oh, bro. Okay, so see, I still see a few that don't have their hands up, right? The moment you have your first result or multiple results, let's say tonight or tomorrow, you're gonna want to have results again the next day. It's almost like it's addicting, right? Like you want to make sure you have results again. So that's why, we have to have the results culture, right? One result a day, one or more results a day, monitor, make sure that you are accountable to somebody, to your trainer, okay, to somebody who, is looking to, help you hit GX. If you're not accountable to somebody, that means that, you're not really that serious about your declaration, right? So that's why we have to make sure, we report, that's why for us, we make sure that we report to Titan X, because we have to make sure that, we're on track with our numbers. Okay, are we doing matchups? That's what we're doing more and more now, right? Not just doing it personally, but match up, with people in the team, with sidelines, so that we can learn from each other, have multiple activities together. So the more teammate we have, the more chances of us having results. So, this to me is really an application now, of what we learned from launch. Okay, so I know that many of us, all of us here will hit GX and hit Rising Kahuna, Kahuna and Big Kahuna if we are focused and disciplined to do all these things. Okay, so last, right, is that some message for those that say, hey, I'd go out, but how come like this one, I had an appointment, got rescheduled, all that. But you gotta have a fun with it, right? Don't expect everything to be a yes, so that was the main thing a lot of people got, in Toronto, okay? Or those of you who heard from John Woo, right? The song, the no, 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 yes, no, 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 yes. Okay, so remember, okay, for all of us to have the success of GX, remember, it's not an overnight thing. We all have to go through the process, right? So that's why it says here, most people quit right before the breakthrough. Can you do multiple home BPMs even if nobody shows up? Right? Because there will be times when there will be no guests. There will be just you eating the food, right, Donna? Right? Stella? So, you're so excited. Oh my gosh, I have five people that it got confirmation. But then you wait and you wait. It's 7:00. It's 7:30. It's 8:00. It's 9:00. You realize, oh, you know what? Let's eat, right? And then let's have a recap. But you do it again, right? You schedule again, right? We do not get tired, because this business is not about who starts the fastest, but it's about who stays consistent the longest. If you refuse to quit, time will eventually reward you. Stay in the game, and persistence always pays. If you look at the leaders today, like Victor right here, Coach Victor right here, sitting beside me with his Big Kahuna jacket. Okay, the ones who stay, I'm sure, back in the days, there were a lot of challenges, struggles, but because of his consistency and persistence, right, over time, now you see the multiplication happening, the duplication happening, so that's what it takes to hit, all these GX success, and of course, eventually the Rising Kahuna, the Kahuna, and the Big Kahuna. So with that, right, Oak Brook, or everybody here in WSB, can you see yourself, being built from nobody to somebody? So can we repeat that to ourselves, that, I declare, right, that I will be a Big Kahuna, or I will declare that I'm going to be a Rising Kahuna, whatever declaration you have, and remind ourselves on a daily basis, every single day, right, that, it's going to happen. We got to have a clear vision first before things happen, and of course, put the action so that we can make it done and we make it happen. All right. So my name is Mira Rosal. I'm a proud world system builder, and I'm going to be a Big Kahuna. All right. Thank you.
All right. All right. WSB, let's give a big hand for both of our powerful trainers tonight. So if I learned one thing today that to take home you can go implement tonight is, number one, you need to go home and get your expense sheet and tape it to your fridge and start tracking your expenses. And number two, if you think GX is hard, you need to break it down in bite-sized pieces, okay? An elephant is only scary until you pull out a fork and a knife, all right? So I just want to say thank you all for showing up for team meeting, and let's finish GX this month, WSB. Let's go.
Standing in a crowded room and I can't see your face. Put your arms around me, tell me everything's okay. In my mind, I'm running around the corner in this space.
All right.
Just put your arms around me, tell me everything's okay. Break my bones, but you won't see me fall.